Hello YouTubes, my name is Ian Miller and I have a community garden plot here in southeast Michigan, zone 6B, and it's springtime and it's been unreasonably warm and we're going through all the crazy weather, and the garlic is getting pretty big. There's some elephant garlic and this little bit here that's getting real big. And I've been trying to garden here with minimal inputs, trying to use compost for weed mitigation and also trying to continually try to add fertility and organic matter with leaves and wood chips. I dug out my paths last fall and put a considerable amount of wood chips in the paths. This garden plot that I've had now, this is the third year, and it was very, very weedy with bindweed and quackgrass and perennial weeds mainly, which has been a challenge, but I feel like with continuously trying to mitigate the weeds with weeding when the waves come up, I've been successful now, especially with the third year rolling into way less weed pressure. I really just wanted to post a video about community gardening and kind of just my experiences with it and ways to be successful, and maybe I can give some advice and just kind of where I've failed and where I've had success and where we can improve upon it. I want to try to do some seed saving and share about how you can garden in a northern climate, successfully produce a ton of food in really just in an efficient way that you don't have to use a lot of inputs. And I want to highlight not trying to rely on animal inputs as much and trying to just really produce food in a clean and responsible way that considers other animals and definitely our local surroundings for sure. So thanks for listening to my ramblings. Hopefully I can provide some useful content and show some cool gardening this season. Hope everybody's having a good year. See ya. Year. And luckily it's a perennial garden plot, so I'm able to do things like garlic and other small perennial plants that are really awesome. And there's some really amazing things going on. People are building raised beds. People are doing all the fun things. And here we have it. And the plastic that I put down did not blow away in these crazy winds. And hopefully we can see what's going on. Some little things that might be cool to try that I'm hopefully going to gain some time this season is utilizing some season extension, utilizing solarization, occultation. You can really make efficient gains in heating the soil and maybe getting a push for weeds to germinate and to grow, and maybe you can get a good weeding wave done, and then you can plant your crops and hopefully avoid some headaches in the beginning of the season. Definitely want to get a jump on it with the northern climate and trying to have limited days while also producing a lot of food. Alright, so this is the main way that I get mulch and compost to the garden. Is I will just load up the car and pin it up in a way that it doesn't get as dirty as possible, and just use good old hand tools to scoop it up. And this is the main way to add a ton of organic matter without using buckets. I see a lot of people using like bins or even like trash bags when I go to compost sites and stuff, and I definitely think it's worth trying to maximize the space. Even though it gets a little dirty, it's worth the volume and the time, and anything energy saving is absolutely critical when you're trying to make the most of efficiencies and everything like that. Awesome. I think maybe the assumption in a lot of community gardens is that some places might just be already so built up and the soil might just be already ready to go. You don't need to add much, but every year it's a continual process of adding organic matter. Like these wood chips are like half broken down already, super dark. They're gonna break down real quick after I put them down, and that's good because I want to keep building organic matter into the soil. The fresh chips would be fine too, would last even a little longer, but I'm happy to just keep building up the organic matter, and I think every year it's worth it. Just finding free sources of material all over, whether you're in more rural areas so it's easier, maybe some places in urban cities and stuff might be a little bit harder to find, but trying to just get it down however you can is super important. One thing about being on a really heavy clay and kind of sloped garden is that there's ways that you can really have solid nutrient retention in the soil by that clay really holding on to a lot, and then it's really about mitigating excess water, managing the hydrology, and digging out the paths is one way, as you can see. By digging out even just this small of a depression, this sloping can really help carry water down and shed it off of the beds while kind of hopefully not running too fast down the pathways. It can kind of be able to soak in on the sides of the pathways and retain water in the beds that way without all of it just running off. And can't help but weed while I'm down here, and that's a really beneficial thing. And so as you go over here into where I'm starting to mulch, you know, that mulch is gonna break down and create a soil layer, but that water is still going to shed off the beds into the pathway, get retained into that mulch layer, add even more nutrient exchange and breaking down of all of the amazing things that are there into what the microbes need, what the fungi need. You can inoculate your paths with wood chips that'll really allow some amazing harvest from also areas that you're not cultivating in, but you're just walking in, but you gotta be careful stepping on mushrooms. But it's great. And so just year after year, building up the organic matter and the pathways in the beds themselves, to where as I'm trying to build the beds up with organic matter, the paths can always kind of remain on a sloped grade and allow watershed while also providing the roots and the plants somewhere that's nice and safe. I think it's really important to think about the entire garden, not just the beds, as some place that you want to provide organic matter and build up of nutrient. The pathways are also huge, and just the entire garden as a whole, you want to think of it as a whole cohesive unit, an ecosystem, micro ecosystem to where you are. And it's awesome to be here. It's cool to see what other people have going on. You can see my car down there. I just do wheelbarrow loads. And hopefully we can make it happen this season and start off on a really good foot with a lot of organic matter and food for the soil.